Vijay, we are live. Very good evening, guys. This is Sishank here. Glad to be in front of you all once again. As we are approaching the weekend, we have a super blockbuster session in store for us today. We have invited somebody pretty senior from the industry who also wears multiple hats. But before we go into that, at Condira, we have always believed that the foundation to a great career starts by putting in all the right steps. Today's session, we will be interacting with our special guest to try and understand what these right steps are. As a wide-eyed fresher, what are the things that you need to do in order to get into the IT sector and thrive in the IT sector? So without further ado, let me welcome Vijay Banda, Senior Director, Cybersecurity at Qualcomm, also an Industry Academia Forum member at HYSIA, as well as a best-selling author, and also wears many more hats. One of them being a passionate mentor to students like you who are about to make the transition from college to the industry. So Vijay, a very good evening. Thank you for taking out time being here with us today. It's a pleasure to have you here today. So the agenda is simple. We have a lots of viewers who have tuned in from across social media, from the Condira platform, and all eager to hear your perspective on how, as a fresh graduate, I can get into the IT sector and also do well. So,
Sure.
your opening comments.
Sure. So absolutely, and thank you so much, Shashank, for the opportunity and Conjura, a great platform. I want to make sure, first of all, that we are spending time here. You are spending time with me, and I'm spending time with you. I wanted to make sure that it is productive. So I try to keep it simple and direct, so that you take away something from it, and I learn something from it. So joining in a corporate world today, compared to joining a corporate world, about 20, 25 years ago or 30 years ago, it was totally different. Today the job industry is agile. It's much more diverse, a lot more opportunities. Unlike in the movie Three Idiots, they said when you have a boy, he's becoming an engineer, and when you have a daughter, she's becoming a doctor, right? But I think now it is beyond that. The choices are so many. Even though our engineering degrees and our bachelor's program has not caught up with many things, but you can parallelly explore so many other career options. So that is a great thing. First of all, you all need to realize that we are in the middle of a technological revolution called Fourth Industrial Revolution. If you all recollect our social sciences class or our history class, we had our first industrial revolution with the invention of, steam, right? When the steam was invented in the late 1800s, people realized how to really harvest the steam power and leverage the steam power, not only to transfer long distances and things like that, but also how to utilize it for increasing productivity. Similarly, after that, electricity was invented. Electricity really caused a biggest industrial revolution in terms of manufacturing. People are able to work long hours. So there are tons of things that were not done before. Inventing electricity actually bought that. And the third industrial revolution happened, in the 1980s time frame, 1980s time frame, where really the telecommunications started coming into play, right? And now we are in the middle of a fourth industrial revolution where digitalization is everywhere. The physical, the digital, and the biological world, the digitalization is pretty much driving. So a graduate joining or leaving the organization today should be thinking differently from a graduate 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or even 5 years ago, because the industry is not the industry. Because, closing comment on this is, whenever we had an industrial revolution, it not only created new jobs, but also made some jobs disappear. Okay, and the beauty of the Industrial Revolution 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, is also going to change the ethos of these jobs to be a lot more specialized, because artificial intelligence, robotics, automation are going to take away a lot of generic jobs, because robots can be easily taught how to do some basic things, some generic things. Like you saw the movie Robo, right? Where how Chitty actually picks up stuff much faster. Or you saw the movie Matrix, where you can download a program to a humanoid, and humanoid knows how to drive or fly a helicopter in a matter of seconds. So robots are learning fast. So what happens to 30, if this pace continues 30, 40 years from now, I know you're all going to be in the industry for next 30, 40 years. Either you're an entrepreneur or a self-employed or working for a company. How are you going to prepare? How should you be preparing is something that we all have to really ponder upon. And my ask is, please realize that industry is changed and it is asking us to think different. I think the first takeaway for you is you need to think differently if you need to really sustain and find a way to demonstrate your value. You need to think differently. Is the first thing I want to basically mention to all the graduates and the job aspirants, coming to the mainstream.
I think that's a fantastic start, starting from the references to Chitty and Matrix, of course. But when you're asking the students to think differently, that's unfortunately the big confusion. How are we different? How are we required to see things differently? In fact, what is the expectation of a fresh graduate today? I'm sure in your long career, you would have probably come across hundreds of thousands of graduates joining in. So what do you expect from the student? The follow-up question is obviously, therefore, what should a student do in order to meet your expectations? But what should they do, and what do you look for?
See, that's why the million-dollar question is, why should I hire you as a fresher? Right? That is a question every interviewer asks a fresher, including myself and yourself when we join. Why should we hire you as a fresher? So the answer to this is not very straightforward. Right? This is especially if you're coming from a system. And I'm going to be very honest, guys. I'm not trying to tell you what is not realistic, right? We all come from an education system that focuses on marks, that focuses on ranks, right? And suddenly when you come to the mainstream and start looking for an interview, and the interviewer asks you totally different questions, he will not really worry about your marks. Of course, that is a qualification, and it will get you actually go through the campus rounds. But he will ask you, hey, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What value you're going to bring to our firm, right? Questions like this, how do you prepare to answer? Because remember, all of us are buying new phones. We buy smartphones every couple of years, even sometimes even much frequently. And when we buy a phone, we spend almost 2 to 3, 4 weeks trying to evaluate this phone. And we say, hey, what is the value for money? Hey, palana site mein discount mil raha hai, uska bada zyada value hai. Or if you buy it in this shop, there is an exchange bonus. So you get some discount because you're looking for value, right? Similarly, corporates look for value in a person that they're hiring. What value this person is going to bring, and how do you demonstrate your unique value to the corporate in a win-win manner, right? It's the most important, not in a one way, but in a win-win manner, right? So and this is the new thought process you need to develop. You cannot go to an interview and say, sir, I am a very good team player, sir. I'm a very smart thinker, sir. I'm a hard worker, sir. I'm coming from a very poor family, sir. I need a job. I think those are very generic questions. They may not demonstrate value all the time, and they may not resonate with the interviewer. So what will resonate to them? And again, I have to use the word new thought process is, you need to sit back, do a SWOT analysis of yourself, right? From first year, second year, third year. You need to analyze your strengths. You need to analyze your weaknesses, right? And you need to really find ways to augment your strengths to skills. and then supplement or complement your weaknesses again through skilling and upskilling. And this is a continuous process. Let's say someone wants to become a teacher, and he's very good in physics and chemistry, but he's unable to articulate his thoughts. His strength is he's a subject matter expert, but his weakness is he's unable to articulate. So how do you fix the gap? He basically needs to go to a storytelling classes or communications classes where he should be able to articulate and connect the ideas to the people. I think the bottom line, the answer is people really have to, the students can say, God has created all of us not like robots. We're all different, right? Every dish has a different flavor, just like that we all have unique flavor. Try to bring that flavor out, whether you are a basketball player, whether you are a good tennis player, whether you are a chess player, you are a good Carnatic singer, right? Try to portray your strength as a value to the firm, right? And then they say, you know what, this guy has worked in so many volunteering organizations. Our company is really big in CSR activities. I think this guy has a long-term potential with us. So they will be able to connect with you. So the question is value. To answer that is find a way to demonstrate the value. That way there's a lot more chances for you to have more conversations with the guy you're speaking with.
Understood. But specifically with regards to the hard skills,
Right.
how do the students kind of differentiate themselves? Typically, courtesy the education system that we have, kind of factories, we have almost homogeneous students coming out. So in that sea of competition, how do I set myself apart?
Absolutely.
I think a lot of students are also asking that specific question. Why do companies reject me? Companies reject me because you are like everybody else. So how
Yes.
do I differentiate myself?
Absolutely. It's a very good question. And so depending upon which phase of degree are you, and if you are in a first year degree, if you are someone who is doing a degree in the first year, I think the first mantra, like I mentioned in my book, is you need to be really plugged in with the industry, right? Attending to sessions like this so that if someone comes to you, what are the top skills that industry is looking for in IT? You should be able to tell, okay, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, Python programming, MI, AI, ML. You should be able to have that on top of your head. And right from first year itself, you should find ways to apply the knowledge or cross-pollinate yourself. That means what? The two things I'm saying. One is, right from first year itself, if you can find forums that will give you exposure to real-time business cases so that you can talk business language. Or right from first year, second year onwards, if you find an opportunity to do internships or shadow someone, there's something called shadowing someone, or be an apprenticeship of someone, fellowship. All these are something that will actually help you understand how a person is actually working in the industry. So the more closely you are assimilated to industry, and more importantly, the much earlier that you are going to align with the industry, right? A lot of people say, sir, I learned cloud technologies. But if I ask you, how does WhatsApp work? How does WhatsApp work? Is WhatsApp work in a client server mode or WhatsApp work in a cloud technology mode? Or if I ask you, someone, a telecommunication engineer, what encryption protocol your broadband router uses at home? And people have no clue, right? So this is where the application, when you are an engineer, see engineering in everything right from first year, right? Oh, I know WAP2 is used in my broadband at home, right? And there are different other options now. 6G is also coming up. There are 6G routers coming up. Okay, so once you start applying what you have learned to real time, as simple as how WhatsApp works, how Facebook works. Like I ask a lot of people a small question, in a bigger university. You know what? How do you reset a password to your wireless portal at home, wireless at home? And a lot of people are unable to answer. No, my dad does that, sir. I don't know how to do it. He's an engineering graduate, right? So with due respect, what I'm trying to tell you, friends, is please don't take me wrong. The practicality of applying what you have learned. If you're an engineer, you see engineering in everything, then you are able to align with industry much faster, right? If someone comes to you and asks, how does cloud work? What is the difference between hybrid cloud, public and private cloud? You studied it. I know there's a big chapter, big course in engineering about cloud technologies, but that only talks theory. But if you can apply that to practicality, so learn to find a way to apply to practicality. Try to get as much on hands-on experience, either through internships or apprenticeships or fellowships, or shadow someone. Come and shadow someone for a couple of days. There's a saying: if you sit next to a doctor for 6 days, you know how doctor works. You know how difficult the job is. Like my dad is an IT software engineer. Go and sit next to your dad and say, "Dad, tell me how does it work?" Right? Then you start understanding what is an IT job is all about. Right, so that is where the differentiator is, the application, the earlier hands-on experience, and then the other one I was talking about is there's so many portals out there, right? So many security certifications, additional courses. So don't limit yourself to what college is teaching you. Start acquiring the additional skills in the latest trends. Start learning Python. Attend some bug bounty sessions if you are into cybersecurity. Right? Start aligning more to attending more of these events. That will actually help you, have a good talking points in the interview. The important thing is you need to have the talking points, and these will help you get the talking points.
Is that the reason behind the HiCI internship fair? We have 50 plus companies, 70 plus roles, around 800 positions available. In fact, I'm glad to say that we had close to 15,000 registrations so far. And the last date for the closing of registrations is this weekend. So is that why HiCI is doing this internships?
I think, yeah, absolutely. Since I'm part of the academic year body, I think the gap. How do we fill the gap between what industry is thinking and what people coming out of academia? I think internship is definitely is one of the mediums that you will start get acclimatized to the culture of corporate. Right? When people think when you're apply for a coding job that you're doing a code for the end to end, but your coding is only a little piece of something of a bigger thing that the company is working on. But what makes a difference is how you work well with others to get the code more effective. So I think I want to say HiCI, the timing of this event is fantastic. So many people coming forward and applying and using this forum to experience internships. I think I'm happy to see the new thought process already coming forward, where people are realizing the importance of industry, alignment and industry awareness the earlier time. So, yeah.
In fact, as a part of the screening process, HiCI and Condira together have partnered to champion what we are calling as digital internships. So,
Fantastic.
some of the companies which have listed their internships under the internship fair page, they are going with a 4-week internship light kind of an approach. So during these 4 weeks, instead of just asking the student to take up a math evaluation or a reasoning evaluation, the companies are actually coming forward, giving some resources to the students and setting up some activities so that over the 4 weeks, the student is able to demonstrate their ability to learn. And in the process, they get to know the company better. The company gets to know the student better. And at the end of 4 weeks, the ones who have performed extremely well are being taken into the further recruitment process. And the remaining set of students, they are actually getting a certificate for this 4-week engagement. So,
fantastic.
This is something which I believe we have been able to start, and I really thank ICIA for kind of supporting this entire initiative, and you being here, one of the hats that you wear also being that of ICIA. What do you see these digital internships as? This entire screening process of 4 weeks, how do you see it as an advantage for the student?
I think again it's a great, it's a new normal coming our way much faster thanks to your platform, Conjura, and ICIA's thought leadership here. So you are sitting at home, you don't have to run for a bus, or you don't have to skip classes, right? You can parallelly work along with your degree, sitting in comfort of your home or office, home office. So I think this is a new normal where people can now start boldly experiencing the taste of corporate much earlier portion in life, right? I think that is the differentiator, right? Once you experience, oh, this is how corporate culture is, this is how corporates work, this is how the team collaboration happens, this is what they prioritize, and this is what they manage. So once they start experiencing it much earlier, right? Then their effectiveness. The bottom line is exposure and experience. There is no substitutes to that. I think this digital internships definitely gives the folks an opportunity, and the screening process is going to be very diligent. I think everybody will be looked at very closely, and I think the process is going to be very diligent, and I'm sure all the right people will be given the right opportunity. And I think your platform is fantastic to help us get there. So great.
I have Anurag asking me a follow-up to what you have just mentioned. If you are taking up this online courses or this digital internships, getting into these internships, etc., will we be given some more preference in the interviews? Will these titles on my resume carry value?
Absolutely. No doubt the value will be there, right? Because somebody asked a question, I think earlier, Ishank, maybe how do they differentiate yourself, right? It's like there's a standard edition and there's a deluxe edition, right? What is the difference? The way Mercedes-Benz sells their cars is you have a standard edition that comes with all these standard features, and you have the deluxe edition which comes with all these luxury add-ons, right? Okay, the 6 airbags and anti rust control, whatever the new features they bought in recently, right? And people get attracted to that additional add-ons. So on your resume, if you are able to articulate, what I did 6 weeks of online internship, and then hopefully you find a good mentor through that. Hopefully you find a good recommendation through that, and hopefully you continue to network with them. It's not that you're done with it, right? And that's where LinkedIn is a beautiful platform. We all should stay connected with our network, because network is net worth in the future, right? Your network is what matters, right? How you basically stay in touch and leverage your network, the 6 weeks that you interacted with your mentors, your peers in the company, it's not only the certification, the experience, exposure, and the networking is what matters. And I'm sure you will have that advantage. And people will ask you, and you should be really thorough with your answers. Hey, tell me about your project you have done. What did you accomplish? What are the one or the two things you would have changed? What didn't work? So please have those data points ready, and I'm sure it will be worth the time that you guys are spending. So.
Now I have a little more interesting question. I know that you have written a big book on the 4 mantras for the future skill readiness. Obviously, I will not ask you all the 4 mantras. I would like my students to go read and find it out about themselves. But you only spoke about the first mantra. Can you give us the second mantra as well?
Sure, absolutely. I think so the word mantra I used. This is nothing. There's nothing religious aspect of it. Mantra. The power of mantra comes with the power of repetition. And that is what you repeat something. Even if you remember the pledge when we were growing up, India is my country. Remember, we all used to ask to repeat that every day in the school before we start that session. And then that the Janagana Mana or Vande Mataram that we sing, it gives us the power of, when you repeat, you get the power of, the sense of power of that repetition. And that's what the mantra is, right? And I after doing 100 and 200 plus sessions across the country, I wanted to give, the next generation the simple 4 steps, but I don't want to call it steps, because this needs to be repeated in the career marathon, right? So I'm also coming up with a word called career web, not career path, right? Because in the future, you need to knit your own career, right? And people need to knit their own career. And how can they knit your own career is by applying these 4 mantras throughout your career journey, right? One is you need to really develop very good industry awareness. Industry awareness is the key. Any engineering college today, they need to look at World Economic Forums. They need to look at NASSCOM. They need to look at ICEA. They need to look at TASC. They need to keep following all these prestigious organizations, how they're trying to talk about this industry gap and the misalignment in some places, and how they're trying to correct it, and how you can position yourself with the right way by internships, hands-on experience, mentoring, and other things we spoke about. Now, the second mantra is about developing self-awareness, and this is where India really need to develop. Because if I ask you all, what are the strengths of a movie actor, right? One movie actor will say, this guy will dance very well. And if I ask about one more movie actor, no, this guy can act very well, right? If I ask about a cricketer, what is his strength? This guy can bowl well or field well. But if I come back and ask you, what are your strengths, right? What are your weaknesses? I think we are very oblivious of our own self-awareness, right? If someone asks you, hey, what are you good at? Can you describe yourself in one word? Right? Can you describe your value proposition in one word? Right? If someone asks Steve Jobs the same question, he will say, "I'm innovative," and you immediately have an answer for that. He's not there anymore, but that's what his answer was. How do you describe yourself? What to understand? What's your core of it? Right? If you look at in India today, we have been measured, and fortunately or unfortunately, right? We have been measured by our marks, by our titles. Right? We have not been measured, especially in the education field, by our abilities, skills, talent, and competencies. Right? And only that can happen if you start assessing your strengths, your natural cognitive abilities. Your natural cognitive abilities is a new word that World Economic Forum is talking about. Foundational skills, thinking style, learning style, right? Articulation style, communication style, right? And then your natural emotional abilities, emotional intelligence, they talk about your assertiveness, your collaboration skills, your leadership skills. And then there are your blind spots, your strengths, your weaknesses, right? And your drivers, your motivators. Why do you want to become an engineer? No, sir, my dad wants me to become an engineer. Right? But if I ask the same question for someone in US, he says, I want to become an engineer because I'm going to create a startup and I'm going to innovate a new product. Right? So the thought process is totally different. Why someone wants to become an engineer? What is the drivers and motivators? And most importantly, what are the core values that you live by? Right? What are the lines that you don't want to cross? Right? So your self-awareness is very, very important, because remember, if we don't know who we are, how can we best at what we can be? Right? Because our future competition is chitties. If you want to be chitty, you need to be really best of yourself. But you cannot be best of yourself if you don't know your natural strengths, your natural abilities, your natural weak points, your natural blind spots. Right? Are your natural core values and your natural drivers and motivators. So second chapter covers 100 pages in my book, because India needs people who are more self-aware of their strengths, their weaknesses, their natural abilities, their natural talent. Imagine Virat Kohli, if he didn't have discovered that he's good at batting and he would have been bowling, we would never know Virat Kohli. So second mantra is about self-awareness, self-awareness, self-awareness. There's a famous saying that people have to really know what they're good at. So I wrote in my book, in one of my chapters where I was interacting with one of my senior, he asked me a question. Tell me, I wanted to switch from mechanical engineering to computer science when I went to US in the early 90s. Then I was doubtful. Why should I switch? Then my senior asked me, what is your natural strength? That was the first time it actually hit to me that people have to look at introvert before you start moving ahead, right?
Vijay,
and that's what I would say.
Why you brought that anecdote? Because I have the exact question. Somebody is asking me, coming in from a non-IT background, I'm currently in my pre-final year. What is the roadmap to get into an IT career?
Absolutely.
He also adds a line. Now that's more for ego inflation. He says, I'm following the Condira platform. Is that enough? So, but that apart, there are a whole lot of non-engineering, non-IT background candidates. What's your advice? How can they get into an IT career?
Sure. There is an organization called CompTIA. I don't know Conjura. I think this is a non-profit organization. I will see if I can share the screen. And I would say there is a IT security, IT plus certification there, right? So if you are from non-IT and if you want to step into IT, I think of course Conjura is a great platform, a foundation. But if you want to really get into, let me see if I can. So there is a platform called CompTIA. right? And this, can you see my screen? Hopefully you can. Okay. So this way, if you go to CompTIA, you can see my screen still?
Yes, Vijay,
No?
we can.
So if you go to training here, there is something called CompTIA A plus training. So there is a IT. If you want to get into IT, if you want to get it, this is a very good place to start for your trainings, which will basically introduce you to IT. This is a long answer. It's a very short answer to my question. But I think I want to basically say another thing, guys. I know software here is very appealing nowadays. Uh, First of all, and I want to again go to the basics. Why do we build software? If you answer the question, anybody can get into software, right? How does Uber got built? Right? What problem they're solving? Okay. How does, when Uber was not released, how is cab booking done before? What is the before and what is the after? Okay. So there is something called ideation, innovation, and solutioning. If you are not in IT, but if you are a good problem solver, you understand a real world business and you are able to convert that into a business opportunity, you don't have to have an IT degree with due respect. You just have to pick and choose some courses, right? Understand the basic nomenclature of IT, but you know how to, you want to solve the problem. You know, if you look at what Google Pay solved, what Paytm solved, what email solved. Remember the Swadesh movie? He says email. Before email, everybody used to get the mail in the post. Now people can get email through internet. Now imagine solutions like that in villages that you're trying to get. So if you have that mindset of problem solving, the foundational mindset of problem solving, critical thinking, decision making skills, analytical skills, those are the skills will help you get in IT irrespective of your degree. But what come those? Those are foundational skills.
And I think that's exactly the place where, as you rightly mentioned, these internships also play a huge role. So for
Absolutely.
all of you guys who are here, the HICIA internship fair registrations are currently live. They are, however, going to soon come to close. 8th is the last date for registrations. So in case you haven't yet applied, please go ahead and apply. And the best part of it, this is free. You don't need to pay money to earn or to get the kind of exposure that Vijay
Absolutely.
is actually speaking of. Vijay,
Absolutely.
I also have one more question. I know that you have spent time at Oracle, at Deloitte, and now today at Qualcomm. A wide range of companies and in leadership roles. A senior director for cybersecurity at Qualcomm is phenomenal. Can you tell us some anecdotes from your experiences across these MNCs? The kind of things that you probably learned, which you wish you were aware of this before you got into the industry.
Sure. I think the first thing I would say some simple words. Culture. Every company comes with a culture, right? I worked in 10 different countries. Worked for a lot of MNCs. The culture of the company. Let's say you go to your sister's house. Their eating times are their routine is different from your brother's house. Let's say, right, or your parents' house. That's the culture of the house, right? So every company brings something called their own culture. So you need to accustom to that culture. First of all, I think when you get into, when you're getting into this, first thing is every company comes up with a culture. How do you know the culture? By looking at the core values of the company. Okay, you need to look at the core values. What is the core values? Employee first. What is the core value of Apple for its employees? What is the core values of Amazon employees, right? Microsoft employees. What are the core values? See, Google, you will find it immediately. Microsoft employee core value. Immediately you will find an answer. Every company defines their culture around their vision, mission, and also their core values. So the earlier that you get adapted and align to these core values, the earlier you will be successful, right? You cannot come and work in Microsoft, sorry, just example, for example, from working from some other company. Because if you are in this company, you need to align to be working with this ethos of that company. I think a lot of people I see in some companies very professional. They always encourage wearing suit and everything, and it's a services company. You cannot just walk in for an interview in jeans and expect to be selected, even though you are a smart guy, right? So you need to understand the ethos of the company, the culture of the company, and you need to do some research about the core values. What is important for this company? So for me, these see the culture, the core values, and the third one is collaboration, right? Collaboration. It's important when you grow, when you go into a company. You may not get credit for everything you do, right? You don't have to worry about always, am I getting the credit, right? You collaborate irrespective of you getting the credit or not, right? Every time, sir, I did this job. Am I getting credit? Am I getting a promotion if I do this? Am I getting, higher rating? Am I getting, on-site opportunities? For every small thing, if you start looking for credit, right, that is not a good thing. So, sometimes you get credit, sometimes you don't get credit. So forget credit, collaborate, even the other person is getting successful. And last one is cross-pollinate. I started my career with one technology, and after this many years, I'm working in a totally different technology, right? I almost totally different, but every technology taught me different things. I worked in Oracle technologies, I worked in Microsoft technologies, I worked in Java technologies, and now I'm in cybersecurity. The OSI 7 layers, pretty much all the 7 layers across I worked. So the cross-pollination, a lot of people come into a job and say, you know what, I started as a Java developer, I will stay as a Java developer all my life. Friends, that's not going to make you really successful. You need to cross-pollinate. So culture, core values, collaborate, even though the credit is not there, and most importantly, cross-pollinate. Right? I think these are the things, for help you, really, have a long-term success, because career is a marathon, right? Career is a marathon, and you need to create the value yourself, because it's no longer going to be someone going to take you and pull you up in the career path. It's the knit that you need to knit the career web here onwards. How you knit it is in your hands.
Anurag has a very interesting question. He says, now that we are just about to graduate from college, what will be the kind of in-demand skills 5-10 years down the line? So that we are reaching the pinnacle by the time we reach there.
Sure. See, there are, if you look at a skill is a very, I look at skill, Anurag, for you, foundational skills and, working skills or expertise skills. First is foundational skills, right? Foundational skills is what I mentioned earlier, is the problem solving skills, the communication skills, the critical thinking skills, the analytical skills, right? And the decision making skills. These are the foundational skills that you really need to develop, because and then the other one is called creative thinking skills, right? Today we don't use a lot of our right brain versus left brain. We are very much left brain in India, and very few people are right brain centric, because we have not completely exercised the creative side of us. So foundational skills is what I would say. Focus on foundational skills. If you look at World Economic Forum that happens in Davos every year, even the Prime Minister and our IT ministers are all go there, right? Because they talk about what are the top skills of 2025, top skills of 2030, and all these foundational skills are actually considered as the important step that you all need to first establish yourself. You cannot become a good programmer in any Java language or any language, Python, if you don't have a good problem solving skills or good decision making skills, right? So you need to really apply learning analytical skills, critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, decision. And how do I learn? The next question is, how do I learn? Just Google, YouTube. You have so many business cases that will explain you what is critical thinking, what are the 7 whys of critical thinking, what is effective problem solving means, or solve some basic things like Sudoku, puzzle solving, right? Bug hunting. These are some of the things that help you make better at problem solving. And creative thinking comes only with arts, expressive arts, creative writing. Right? These are some of the skills. Once you develop the foundational skills, then of course, the next layer is to continuously, acquire a skill or a competency. I call it here more than a skill. Acquire a competency that industry is looking for. Right? That's the difference. Skill and competency. Right? Competency is next level, taking your skill to the next level. So industry is looking for you to be competent in Python programming. Industry is looking for to be competent in cybersecurity. What will make you competent in cybersecurity? Okay, I need to really do a master's in cybersecurity, or do I need to do a digital certification? And then I do a couple of certifications, and then I will do a couple of bug bounties that will make me very competent. So what will make you competent to the industry is something that you need to be aware of. And mind you, my friend, sitting today, you cannot plan for 5 years, because every 2 years a new skill is going to change, and what the market is going to ask you to upskill or cross skill every 2 years, and that is the reality of life in the IT world. So I cannot give you the 5 years roadmap. If I'm giving you, then I'm lying. But have these foundational skills in mind and try to find competency in one of these areas that industry is looking for, and develop the right tools and certifications aligning to the competency needs that will actually help you long-term successful.
Thank you, Vijay, for that. I know I have requested half an hour of your time, and we are way beyond that. But a couple of last questions. Qualcomm obviously is a dream company for many. I'm sure every single phone they use probably has a bit of Qualcomm in it. So how can a fresh graduate get into Qualcomm?
I think Qualcomm is looking for a lot of hardware programmers, the people who are really know VLSI, or even the fab design level and AI ML kind of programmers. If you're really good in AI and ML, I'm sure if you're coming from one of these prestigious organizations, you will be given an opportunity. And unfortunately, I'm not representing Qualcomm here directly. But I would say the 5G is taking off really well, and 5G, 6G is also there. If you notice in our routers at home, we're already using some of the routers are already 6G compatible. So the spectrum is getting even faster and faster. So I would say this is definitely one of the future companies to watch out for. There's a lot happening and a lot of innovation happening. And if you have a great idea, along this this line, feel free to share this. Maybe that idea will bring you a job into Qualcomm.
Fantastic. So we look forward to probably hosting Qualcomm soon enough for a digital internship. Vijay, probably to quickly close, any final thoughts that you would like to leave with all the audiences who are here today live?
I think the fourth mantra, third mantra I told about upskilling. The fourth mantra is what? Attitude to adapt. So friends, I think youth in India, youth are the future of the India. I think the only thing you need is channelized in the right way and having the right attitude to adapt. Right? How means what is adapt? I only do things when this happens. I only do things when this happens. Or only this need to happen in my career. Right? These expectations that we have will actually limiting us to really become great. Right? So have the right attitude to adapt. COVID thrown us so many challenges. Imagine most of the high-tech city working from home last 18 months without causing any impact to any of the big businesses, and still the revenues went up significantly, right? Because people adapted. So the adaptation is going to be addressing the adversity quotient is going to be the key success mantra of the future. So all of you, go back to Swami Vivekananda said, right? All the power is within you, right? And be fearless. Believe in yourself. Have the confidence. And I also want to close upon with the Bruce Lee quote, be water, my friend. He says, be water, my friend, right? That means just like water, you pour water in a glass, water takes the shape of a glass. You pour water in a bottle, it takes the shape of a bottle. So we need to be that adaptable. The future is going to require us to be fungible. The word is fungible, right? Whether they put you in a frontline position or backline position, you are fungible. You can do any job easily. That is the kind of depth and breadth this industry is looking from you. So please equip yourself with the right attitude by looking at the long term, right? Because there is a famous dialogue, "Paas ka fayda aur dur ka nuksan," right? Or "Paas ka nuksan, dur ka fayda." This is a famous movie dialogue from movie Sarkar, right? Always look for "Paas ka nuksan, dur ka fayda," right? And that's what we have to struggle now. But as long as we are aligned in the right way and we are seeing the opportunities and the positives in the long run, keep that in mind. Don't worry about the small ups and downs. Isko itna mila, mere ko itna mila, isko itna mila. It's something, as long as you know who you are, you know your strengths, you are aligned to the industry, you're trying to show your unique value, you're continuously working on upskilling yourself, you're continuously reinventing yourself, repositioning yourself. And if you have the right attitude that I'm not looking for a career to end tomorrow, right, a day after tomorrow, my career is next 40 years. How do I position myself for the next 40 years so that I have a successful, long, and most importantly, prosperous career that is very fulfilling? So with that, I want to wish you all the very best. I'm doing my job here as a part of nation building. I always believe spending a couple of hours a weekend talking to youth like you. I hope this is useful for all of you. My website is called S Mentor. There's a mentoring website that I champion called S Mentor, or you can Google me up on YouTube also. I have a couple of videos, so feel free to reach out to me. But I'm looking for me, my goal is we need to have a Steve Jobs from India. We need to have a Bill Gates from India in the next 5 to 10 years. We need to have Elon Musk from India in the next couple of years. That will take our country to the gates because we have the brains. The only thing is we need to have the right attitude and we need to have the right system to help us get there. I'm hoping to see one of you reaching out to me after 10 years and say, we did this. Now, as a result, now India has become another time a shining star across the world map. So with that, thank you very much, Shashank, for the opportunity. Kanjura, Haisia, everybody. Godspeed, everybody. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you for your time, and we are glad to have invited you here. It's been an amazing experience sharing, thoughts of yours with the students on our platform and also on social media. I'm sure there are a lot of key takeaways from this entire session. So thank you once again, Vijay, for being here, taking out your time. It's a weekend at the end of the day. So thank you once again.
Thank you. All the best, everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks.
So guys, that was Vijay, Senior Director at Qualcomm, and was previously leading the support services at Deloitte and was also the VP operations at Deloitte. So a lot of things, and he did share with us a lot of different things, alignment with industry, being able to adapt, fungible, that's a great word, new learning for me. But I think, how do we put these things into practice? That's something which is really going to be much more material. And that's where the Haisia internship fair comes into the picture. And the Condira online platform with the digital internships is a great place where you can start working with different companies. Under Haisia internship fair, for example, we are looking at 50 plus companies, 75 plus roles, and 1,000 plus positions. What is stopping you? It doesn't cost you money. You just need to go ahead, choose the roles that you believe you are interested in. And maybe you might discover a passion for that role, or you might just discover that that role is not for you. So go ahead, apply for these internships. Some of these internships will require you to take up screening tests on basic skills such as problem solving, language, communication, etc. Those internships where you will see the words digital internship, in those scenarios you will actually have a 4-week engagement with the company. They will be sharing some resources with you. They will be asking you to take up some mini projects or assignments, and basis your performance across the 4 weeks, they will eventually be making maybe even full-time offers. So I think we are at a time and age where the opportunities are unlimited. It's not just about Condira online platform. I'm sure there are many other places where you will probably be able to take up a huge number of opportunities. But what's much more important is you being able to leverage them for your own personal career growth. And that's the place where I want each one of you to grab with both your hands every single opportunity that comes your way. If in case you haven't yet applied to these internships, please do so right away. The last date, registrations close on 8th of August, so that's this weekend. And if in case you have already done, fantastic. We will soon have one more session where we will be speaking about what are the next steps, what is the screening process going to be, what is this digital internship. All of that we will probably be having one more, a little more longer session, right after the registrations are closed. Right, we will be sending you an email for all the candidates who have applied to the internships about this session, wherein we will be speaking in a little more depth about the different screening processes and all that. Right, I got a lot of messages saying, I got a mail saying that I have been approved. Does it mean that I get into an internship? So my answer is simple. Right now, what you have been approved for is to take part in the screening process. Once you do well in the screening process, that is when you will be able to get into the final internship. Ramya is asking me, is digital internship good or direct internship? Ramya, digital internship is a way to the final direct internship. Some companies might just evaluate you on your basic problem solving skills and language skills and leave it there and make offers basis that, whereas some of the other companies, they are giving you a digital internship opportunity, and if you do well in that, they will take you for the final internship. So for me, internship is internship. The screening process can either be a basic evaluation process or a digital internship, right? But the good thing about the digital internship is that if you do well, you will get a further opportunity, to maybe a full-time opportunity. And if you are amongst the, if you manage to complete the entire digital internship, you'll get a certificate that says you have completed a digital internship with, XYZ company on the Condira online platform. So it's a win-win solution, right? So on that note, Vishal is asking me, is this internship paid or unpaid? The 4-week digital internship is unpaid. Both you don't need to pay anything, neither is the company going to pay you anything. But the final internships, once you do well in the digital internship or the basic screening process, you will eventually be getting into a company for a full-time internship where every company has its own stipend policy. Jayavardhan Reddy is asking me, it will be permanent. I am not asking you, I am not able to follow what is permanent here. Yes, if I was speaking about internship opportunities on Condira online platform, they will be a permanent thing. This month we are having HICIA internship fair. Next month we have Technogen coming up with 7 different internships, all of them leading to full-time working opportunities. So, digital internships on Condira online platform is going to be a constant and permanent affair, if that's what you're asking me, Jayavardhan, right? On that note, once again, thank you all for your time. It has been a pleasure to bring to you all Vijay Banda from Qualcomm, a member of HICIA Industry Academia Forum. And yes, please do stay tuned to Condira Online for more such events, bringing many more opportunities to each one of you. Have a great weekend, and please do keep in mind that registrations for HICIA internship fair close on 8th of August. Thank you all. Have a great weekend ahead.